mind-blowing. So we'll see how that unfolds. So why is she still there, Mark? I don't know. I don't know. But the feds are in on this. I mean, obviously, if it's a state investigation, you have to wonder how deep dive is going to happen there. But hopefully the feds will dive into that as well. By the way, over and over again, I've talked about this, and I get pushback all the time just that there is no voter fraud, and or this is the great argument to this. It's so little. It's so little. It doesn't happen much. Any voter fraud is unacceptable. There should be zero tolerance for voter fraud. I mean, just in the last couple of days, right? We find out about the cat gets voter registration application in the mail after it died 12 years ago. Yeah, a cat. Cody the cat got his voter registration, right? Because we've got this whole voter mail thing. Now, we've had absentee ballots, but that's a small percentage, and there's a procedure. They're talking about mass mailing these things out so that they're floating all over the place, right? There was an article with a post carrier is saying, go into these apartment buildings and condo buildings, and those ballot forms are just laying all over the foyer area where the mailbox stuff is. That are there that can be picked up. Then the ballot harvesting. So now a story just breaks about a West Virginia mail carrier admitted that he attempted fraud. He changed the party affiliation on the forms. He said it was a joke. He says it was a joke. He wanted to be funny. So he changed in pen the mail-in ballots, changed the party affiliation. So look, voting is such an important part of our process. It's the one last thing, that last bastion of the freedom that we have, that when that election day comes, whether you're a billionaire, millionaire, or you're unemployed, you only get one vote. And that's why it's so valuable. And I think this term around with the cancer culture that's out there, what happens to you if you don't jump on board with this mob mentality? Look at, and I didn't get into the letter. I wanted to get into this letter that was signed, right? Calling to the end of the cancer culture by the people who realize that there's no stopping them. Some of the people on this letter, we'll go through this, some of the people on this letter are people who have called out other people and attacked other people, and that's not freedom of speech. When you express your opinion and it doesn't match someone else's, and they orchestrate to ruin you, to get rid of your job, to get you fired, to hurt your business, like the Goya Beans or the guy from Mozilla or whatever, that's not freedom of speech. That's not the consequences. The consequences of the freedom of your speech is the debate, that everyone else has freedom to speech to call you out on that and debate it. There's got to be something, and somebody, some DA somewhere or some AG's got to say enough is enough here. And it should work the other way. Are these people who are hiding behind Twitter and these phony accounts and organizations? What if we reversed it? We sought them out and we went to their employers and say, are you okay with this deranged person working for you? So voter fraud, it's out there, people, constantly. Every time I come across an article, I post it, I share it, I talk about it. Ballot harvesting is a horrible idea. It's not secure. Not only should the election be secure and our vote, it's one vote, one person, but you should also be able to establish that you are who you say you are when you vote. That is not voter suppression in any stretch of the imagination. There's only one reason that you would not want voter ID. No question about it. 508-871-7000. Ken, good morning. How are you, sir?
Morning, Colonel Joe. Lieutenant Ken reporting.
How was your holiday? We haven't talked for a little while. Was 4th of July good for you? You had a nice time?
Yeah, I had some time up at a New Hampshire lake leading up to the 4th. So
nice.
That was nice to get away.
Fantastic.
And what I wanted to pick up on your last half-hour discussion, even though what you just talked about I concur with, it's the thorniest of issues these days. And one takes a lot of arrows, let's say, coming your way, as I think you've experienced trying to deal with it. So I wanted to kind of get to something that each person, all of us are trying to avoid the carnage of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of information that just isn't getting out that I thought I would
this is true.
pass along. First, kind of break down the treatments that the media just doesn't want to talk about. There's front end of the illness and then the back end of the illness, meaning that hopefully those who get it these days are more mild, and seems to be the case in the South, mild to moderate, and what are the best treatments there versus moderate to severe, and what are the best treatments in that situation. And obviously, hydroxychloroquine was a big part of the controversy, and a lot of disinformation related to it. I don't know if you caught, there was a Henry Ford Institute study that just came out within the past couple of weeks to show that it really is helpful. That, like literally it reduces death rates in those who take it early in their process before they get into the storm. I don't know the quite exact term, but you know what I'm referring to.
Not to mention, it's been around for 60 or 70 years.
Right.
And it's inexpensive, by the way, compared to other, the Rodacivir that they talk about, which is thousands a dose versus dollars.
And I'll get to that.
Yeah.
Right. And unfortunately, that's part of today's society, that the Faucis of the world have been around for decades, have been paid off by the moneyed interests who want the more expensive solution. And it isn't just Fauci, it's the bureaucracy. That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So something that is a cheaper, easier solution, and this gets back to your first half hour, that the Dems don't want solutions. They want issues.
Right.
So here's a solution, at least for those like the Michigan State Senator back 3 months ago, who took it when it was all of a sudden hitting her, but she heard that the president had thrown out the idea. She grabbed the idea, and it worked.
And then she made the mistake of saying so and praising him for it, thanking him for it.
Yeah.
I mean, they punished her for that.
Right. Well, just this week, apparently there's another medications being used in other countries now. I never heard of, and it's called ivermectin, and its primary use is to attack intestinal parasites. But it's being used in India, Central South America, and the places it's being used, they rave about even more than hydroxychloroquine. Like literally, it's knocking COVID out. Now, this is preliminary, but we don't even hear it anywhere. I mean, I just happened to be doing YouTubing, and this popped up, and I watched it, and I was like, holy smokes. And no, we don't want a solution. We'll let other people find solutions.
Right.
So literally, we have two solutions that, for early stages, that either virtually no one knows about, and I invite people to research. You can Google it.
Well, but the ivermectin is an inhibitor to the COVID-19. And if you do you ever watch Dr. Siegel? Now all right. So Dr. Siegel, sometimes I got to tell you, I like to balance out watching Dr. Fauci with Dr. Siegel because he will often have a lot of great information about the fight on COVID and what they're finding. And now they have the synthetic serum that is creating the antibody that at a much greater rate than the natural So if you were to take the natural plasma that somebody who has COVID-19 and you inject it, which is how, that's how we handle, infections, right? That's how, inoculations. Well, this synthetic will actually produce far greater antibodies and faster than the natural system. So there's a lot of great strides being made there, Ken, but we're not hearing about them. And they keep calling them cases. Now, naturally, if we could instantly test 360 million people at once, right, they're calling anybody who has COVID in them is a case. Yet cases are increasing in their term, but hospitalizations and deaths are down. So the point is, it didn't change. The same number of people are walking around. We just don't know it till we get to testing. So naturally, when testing increases, the number of people that we find COVID exists in is going to increase. But as you said, it doesn't seem to be as bad because it's also we realize we need to protect the older population more. It's being detected in the younger population, which can handle it a lot better, and it's also, if you look at where it's all spiking on the border states, which has a lot to do with the high infection in South America, Mexico, coming up into this country.
Right. That is certainly part of the explanation. The level to which the cases have gone up, though, is largely inexplicable. I mean, there are components, but it's like, why in the middle of the summer is the South cases spiking so much? And the good news, as you've described, is the fatality rates are very low. I mean, literally, within the last few weeks, there's some days where Massachusetts numbers for deaths are actually a little bit higher than Florida. And yet they have 50 times more cases, new cases, that is. So it's kind of weird to figure it all out. But I wanted to just finish up the second stage of when it hits people, which is obviously a potentially fatal stage. That, yes, there's remdesivir, and that costs a ton of money. We apparently have locked down virtually all of it within the United States so as to pay off Gilead. And then there's an alternative, dexamethasone. I might not be pronouncing it just right, but from the information we have so far, that's better than remdesivir. And yet that hasn't been knocked down or vilified like hydroxychloroquine. It's a steroid, but it seems like a lot of these situations, if we use what we'd already had and we take supplements, we're far better off than all of the, roll the die and we'll have a vaccine or we'll have remdesivir. Because those are far more uncertain, whereas the things that we do have, we can start using now. And just to finish off, as far as the supplements issue, it seems to me if one takes zinc, and all these things I'm discussing, obviously, in consultation with your doctor, but it seems like the supplement that's the most important is zinc, and particularly in coordination with hydroxychloroquine. Obviously, add vitamin D and vitamin C are in high doses in some situations also can be a form of prophylactic.
So you've been looking into this a lot and keeping an eye on it and studying. Obviously, you've been reading up on it, Ken. Yeah.
Because it's the big issue. I mean, literally, what we think is going to happen changes every week.
Yeah, well, that has really been a problem, hasn't it? Because we didn't know a lot about it in the beginning days. We got conflicting instructions. We were told in the beginning not to wear the mask. Then we later find out that was purposely done, Dr. Fauci said, because they didn't want Americans to hoard the masks and, affect the medical.
And Joe, you brought up this topic. There would have been a simple, easy way of handling it. So half of there weren't enough medical PPEs, masks. Yep, the N95s. But they could have said, please don't, in March, buy up what the doctors desperately need. But if you want to make your own cloth ones,
Yeah,
great. Go
yeah.
ahead. Did
Exactly.
they say that?
No, they
No,
didn't.
they just said no mask.
Look, people, the bandana. Everybody has a bandana around the house, right? I mean, that could have served the purpose. Plus, we saw an entire industry, cottage industry, popped up on masks instantly, right? You can get all. I mean, people were making masks in home. I don't know how many posts I saw from people I know saying, "Hey, I'm making them at home. You need one? Let me know." So yeah, we could have done that. Plus, the president he did use in certain cases the War Act there, the Production Act to order it. He could have done that too, but it did raise some questions and some issues, which there were people sounding these alarms before, but they weren't really being listened to, and that is about the supply line and what we have inside the country and on hand and ready to use in this kind of situation, a pandemic. The supply line to get the stuff made, right? Even the ventilators, even ventilators that were assembled in the United States, the parts were coming from outside of the United States. So it drew attention to a lot of things that we need to fix and that we need to not allow that to happen again.
A lot of that was supposed to be handled by the CDC, but it's a typical bureaucracy that's inefficient, similar to the Soldiers' Home story that we talked about the last half hour.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go watch the Kathy Curran's thing today. I didn't see it last night. Mark brought it up. I will. I will want. I looked it up on the break. So I'll go home and I'll watch it. They have it online, I assume, on Channel 5. But it's just it's sad. It's so sad that the lives that were lost there quicker than they needed to be lost, the dignity of these people who served our country. I really hope that I think it's the feds are going to have to really come in and do the investigation. I don't know if the investigation would be a complete one done if it's left to the state, Ken, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And just to finish up on information that people may not be familiar with, have you heard the distinction between blood type?
I heard a conversation, not enough to speak on it, about the certain blood types. Yeah, go ahead. You share what you're talking about.
So this is something you can't alter. So it isn't anything but it's just knowledge. Blood type O, which is more than 50% of people are blood type O, has a much lower likelihood of being infected and of having difficulties during the infection, both. So the others, A, B, and AB, don't have a natural capacity to fight the infection as well as type O does. So,
yeah, I heard about the O being the better one to have in the situation, a lucky one to have for that.
Right.
So yeah, look, I mean, again, based on some of the things that are being said. Again, I'm thinking about Dr. Siegel in particular, that there is really good chance that even by the end of this year, there'll be some tools out there, some antiviruses, some what's the word I'm looking for that they call to treat it, not inoculation, but at least some tools. So
yeah, I think we're going to have more tools.
Yeah.
Just
all right.
Don't lock yourself in the idea of, well, it's going to be by this date, it's going to be by that date.
No.
Because there's also
they told us way back that we were looking at maybe 18 months, right? I mean, if we have it within 12 months, that's huge. That's lightning speed. Didn't the president call the whole project of finding a vaccination warp speed, I think is the code name, isn't it, for the whole thing? I mean, it's just, we're moving. In other words, when it comes to this type of thing, Ken, we're moving at lightning speed right now.
Yeah, and I encourage that. I just, with all of the turns, the way this thing has acted, and, the professionals are saying, I've never seen anything like this.
Right.
That the reality is, solutions may not be vaccine. It may be all the things that I'm describing and new things that are found along the way where we just find ways to increase our immunity and then to some extent get closer to herd immunity. But even there, we don't even know for sure those who've had it won't get it again. Not that that's happened in significant numbers.
Exactly.
But the antibody counts, both in those who have had it that have antibodies and those that are asymptomatic, actually the counts go down quickly over time.
All right, Ken, I got to run because I've got a couple phones unloaded and I only have a couple minutes. Thanks for the call, though. All right, let me jump to Joe real quick. Joe, thanks for holding.
Yeah, hi, Joe. Good morning, Mr. Marvelous. How you doing?
Mr. What?
Marvelous.
Oh, Mr. Marvelous. You look marvelous, yes.
Yeah, I think back to Marvelous Marv Thornberry of the Mets a long time ago when you said Marvelous yesterday. Hey, listen, we're coming up on a news break. If I don't get my points across again, can I hold on till after the news?
Unfortunately, I'm done at 8.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be quick then.
Yeah.
I don't have much time. I got to focus on one subject.
Yeah, focus on one subject, and we're going to try to get
No one has called about that. It's driving me crazy.
What's that?
As you probably understand, a lot of progressives, like myself, we have a libertarian streak. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Massachusetts has banned menthol cigarettes.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I know.
That is a violation of my civil liberties. I don't want these Democrats in Boston to tell me that I can't smoke menthol cigarettes. I guess they say they're more addictive than regular cigarettes.
Yeah. So they banned menthol cigarettes in certain flavors of the vape too. So they're getting into. So it's not now they're picking and choosing what you're allowed to drink or smoke or taste or enjoy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and I knock the Democrats when they're wrong, and they're dead wrong on this one. If I want to kill myself smoking menthol cigarettes, that's my prerogative. I don't want the state to tell me I can't smoke those cigarettes.
Absolutely, Rob. And we have talked about this a little bit about the whole banning thing. The only thing is we have 25 seconds, Joel. Sorry, I'm only on until 8 o'clock Saturday and Sunday mornings. I'd love to be on until 9 o'clock. It's just not what's in the cards. Folks, have a fantastic rest of the weekend. Joel, I appreciate the call. Ken, Don, Gene, everybody. Hey, enjoy your day. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. I'll be back Thursday for Political Thursday on Making Money Last with Jerry Doherty.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester. 8 o'clock.
Dangerous heat. 2 police officers killed. I'm Christopher Cruz. 27 American cities will break heat records today, says Weather Prediction Center meteorologist Brian.